Welcome to RCFE Deal Room. I'm Dale Corpus. If you're buying, selling, or investing in residential care facilities for the elderly in California, this channel is designed to help you make smarter decisions and avoid costly mistakes. One of the most common questions I get from RCFE owners is this: Dale, what is my RCFE worth? And my answer usually surprises people because the value of an RCFE isn't determined by one number. It's not just the real estate. It's not just the business. It's not just revenue. It's not just occupancy. Valuing an RCFE is really about understanding how all of the pieces fit together. Today, I want to walk you through the factors I believe every owner and every buyer should understand when evaluating an RCFE. Whether you're planning to sell next month, 5 years from now, or you're simply curious about today's market, I think this episode will give you a much better understanding of how buyers think. Let's get started. Number one, the real estate is only one part of the story. Let's start with one of the biggest misconceptions. Many owners think my property is worth $2 million, so my RCFE must be worth more than $2 million. Maybe, maybe not. The real estate certainly matters. Location, condition, size, layout, lot size, parking, neighborhood. All of those things influence value, but remember, you're not just selling a house. You're selling an operating business, and that's a completely different conversation. Number two, buyers look at cash flow. A beautiful property doesn't automatically make a great investment. Buyers want to understand whether the business actually produces income. They're looking at revenue, operating expenses, payroll, insurance, utilities, maintenance, and ultimately cash flow. Because at the end of the day, businesses are purchased for the income they can generate, not simply because they're attractive buildings. Number three, occupancy matters. Occupancy tells buyers a story. Is the RCFE consistently full? Are vacancies rare? Or are beds sitting empty? Consistent occupancy often suggests stable demand, but numbers alone don't tell the whole story. Maybe occupancy dipped because the owner intentionally showed admissions. Maybe renovations were underway. Maybe licensing changes affected capacity. Good buyers don't just look at occupancy, they ask why. Number four, buyers evaluate risk. Every business carries risk. The question is, how much? Buyers evaluate things like owner dependence, staff turnover, licensing history, deferred maintenance, referral concentration, regulatory concerns, competition, future expenses. The greater the perceived risks, the more cautious buyers usually become. Understanding those risks help buyers determine what they're willing to pay. Number five, reputation has real value. One thing that's difficult to measure but incredibly important is reputation. Families remember exceptional care. Hospitals remember reliable operators. Case managers remember who communicates well. Hospice providers, home health agencies, placement specialists. Over time, your reputation becomes part of the value you're selling. A respected business often attracts stronger buyers. Number six, growth potential changes value. Sophisticated buyers don't just evaluate where the business is today. They also ask, where could it go? Could occupancy improve? Could operations become more efficient? Could referral relationships grow? Could services expand? Could expenses be managed more efficiently? Sometimes buyers are purchasing future opportunity, not just today's performance. Number seven, value is the combination of everything. Here's what I believe. There isn't one formula that tells you what an RCFE is worth. Value comes from combining everything we've talked about: the real estate, the business, cash flow, occupancy, staff, licensing, reputation, growth opportunities, risk. That's why two facilities that appear almost identical can sell for very different prices, because buyers aren't buying one factor. They're buying the complete picture. The market ultimately determines value at the end of the day. Your RCFE is worth what a qualified buyer is willing to pay and what a motivated seller is willing to accept. The market ultimately determines value. No emotion, no hope, not what someone else sold for 3 years ago. Every transaction reflects today's market conditions. Now, here's today's deal room tip. If you are curious what your RCFE might be worth, don't immediately ask, what's my business worth? Instead, ask, what would a buyer need to see to feel confident paying a premium? That question often leads to more productive conversations. And if I could leave both buyers and sellers with one thought, it would be this. Don't focus on finding a magic valuation formula. Focus on understanding the business, because the better you understand how an RCFE operates, the easier it becomes to understand what creates value. And once you understand what creates value, you'll make better buying decisions, better selling decisions, and better long-term business decisions. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's episode, it's this. The value of an RCFE isn't determined by one number. It's determined by the complete story the business tells. The real estate, the operations, the financials, the reputation, the opportunities, and the risks. Whether you're buying, selling, or simply planning for the future, understanding these factors will help you make better decisions. If you're an RCFE owner here in California and you're curious about what buyers may be looking at when evaluating your business, I'd be happy to have a confidential conversation. Even if you're years away from selling, understanding today's market can help you prepare for tomorrow. Even if you never work with me, I hope these videos help you make better decisions. That's why I created RCFE Deal Room. If you'd like additional educational resources for RCFE buyers, sellers, and investors, visit simplifyseniortransitions.com/RCFE. There you'll find educational videos, tools, and my free RCFE buyer's due diligence checklist to help you navigate the California RCFE market with confidence. If you found today's episode helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe, and I'd love to hear from you. When you think about the value of an RCFE, what's the first factor that comes to mind? Leave your answer in the comments below. I read every comment, and many future episodes are inspired by your questions. Next time, we'll hear another question I hear from almost every buyer. How much cash do you really need to buy an RCFE? Thanks so much for watching. I'm Dale Corpus, and I'll see you next time here on RCFE Deal Room.